All right, please be joined this time by one of our friends of the podcast, Brandon Evans, coach at Ware County. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you guys got a great staff at Ware County. I know you're excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to hear what you got to say. Let's talk about some special teams. Let me get out of the way. Take it
All
away.
right. So we'll look just the way that we plan, prepare, and then try to perform. We're first off just fortunate to have a head coach who loves special teams. I never feel like, you know, I'm just doing something wrong because he's so involved. And if he don't like something, he'll let us know. And then he gets excited with the kids. It's definitely not something that, we just do as a staff by ourselves. He definitely leads it and allows me to kind of put a little spice on it, and we try to go play the best that we can. But we're just going to look at kind of how we plan it, how we prepare for it, and then ultimately how we try to perform and put our kids in the best spot possible. Starting out with the way that we plan, we look for the best players for the job. So, and I'm an advocate too that you got to put your best players on special teams. But for us, that may mean, making a kid who's not an offensive and defensive starter the best guy for that job. Your younger guys, your non-starters, they don't have to be young. They might be a senior who just can't crack the lineup at free safety, but he can be a really, really good field three on your kickoff. And if you give him an identity and you give him something to be excited about, he becomes the best guy for that job. I've got it up here. Your third best linebacker may be your best middleman on kick return if they take pride in it. So that's kind of our angle on that is let's not just look for the absolute best player with the most tools. Let's look for the guy who that we can train and through a lot of reps and giving him a lot of pride in what it is that he does and making him feel really, really important. He becomes the best guy for that particular position. So I may not be the starting linebacker, but I am the starting middleman, and I'm excited to do it. Starters, something we talk about a lot is your starters on offensive and defense have a higher injury risk for just because they're taking more reps. There's a chance that if you've got that starting corner out there on every special team and he goes down trying to chase some gazelle down on a vertical and he tweaks an ankle or a knee, well, now what are you playing with? You're playing with the backup at his special team spot. And with time being limited like it is, how many reps has that guy gotten? So what it is we look at is, if we want to put our best guys out there, now let's fill in the twos. And then what can we do to make that second guy that would go in if this guy got hurt? What do we got to do to make him the starter? What do we got to do to make him the first guy to run out there on that special team? And let's make him the best that he can. And now we feel good that, not only might we, lose a offensive or defensive starter, now there's a chance this guy, doesn't have as high of an injury risk because he's only doing a handful of jobs. So that's something we talk about a lot all the way throughout the summer and early on into the fall. We believe that you get what you reward. The only way to get a helmet sticker at Ware County is for great special teams and scout team play. That was something Coach Strick came across somebody at a clinic or something that he was at. He called me, what do you think about this? We had never done helmet stickers. We hadn't done them while I was here. They hadn't done them while he was here. And I said, Coach, let's go ahead and do it. I think our kids will love that. I love a world where, and I love our quarterback. I think he's one of the best out there. But I love a world where, the guy, the backup, Jack on the defensive line has a helmet full of stickers because he's embodied his job and he's done a great job at that. And then we believe if you're going to reward the starter, you need to reward the scout team guy that's out there making him better. So if you look out on a Friday night, you may see some guys that ain't getting their name called on the loudspeaker a whole lot, but they got the back of their helmet filled up with stickers. So that's a way that we embody that, a way that we try to develop some pride in our special teams guys. We want to develop an identity. Ours over the last few years has been murder logs. We're down here at the Okefenokee Swamp, and if you're in a boat on the Okefenokee, it might be a log, it might be a gator, and that log may hurt you. So every special team, those guys break it down on murder logs. We couldn't quite put that on a T-shirt. I don't know if our booster club would go for that, but our kids know what it is that it means. And at the end of the year, or at the end of the summer each year, we go ahead and order T-shirts for those guys. You'll see our logo in a second when I talk about our depth chart. But we have a special logo that only goes on special team stuff. Had it made, it just says Gators, but the A in Gators actually has the Avengers A on it. And it's kind of this, we take everybody's skill set and we put it together and we make it work on special teams. So our kids love those T-shirts. And that's the same thing that, if you may be the all-world wide receiver, you may be, the all-world this or that, but you don't get one of these shirts, if you hadn't proven that you can run down and help us out on kickoff. So it's always fun to go ahead and order those shirts at the end of the summer once we feel like we've got that depth chart kind of where it is. And then we order 5 or 6 extra in each size. That way, as guys come up throughout the season, they're able to get their shirt too. And so that's always an exciting time when kids start getting their shirts. We did, I think one year we did it, it said those logs will bite. And then this past year, we really leaned into the idea of Valley Forge, being a history guy. And Coach Strickland, our head coach, he loves American history. We sold them. We told them what it meant, to be at Valley Forge and to be a tough guy and to handle tough stuff in order to get a delayed gratification. Those guys went through all of that in order to go try to win a war. And so this year, their shirts literally had the latitude and longitude of where Valley Forge was in the American Revolution. And nobody knew what that meant. When they wore their shirt around the school, nobody knew. But when they got asked about it, they could tell you what Valley Forge was and how it applies to our program. So those are some ways we really try to create an identity and create excitement around special teams. When we talk about planning, we try to prepare with the game in mind. So it's pretty easy on a Sunday afternoon to throw up a bunch of stuff on the board and everything looks good before you have to go play. But something we talk a lot about is as the game gets going, we don't want to regret what we did on Sunday. So some things that we do, we try to limit any offensive guys on the kickoff team because we don't want to go on a 12, 13 play drive and, using those skill guys. Obviously the big boys are not going to be on your kickoff team, but, your tight ends, fullbacks, receivers, those running backs, those kind of things, if we can find a better guy who's not going to be out there potentially running around on offense, we want to use them because we don't want them to go on a big drive, kick the field goal or kick the extra point, and then they got to go run down 60 yards and try to tackle somebody. Same thing when we talk defensive starters on kick return. We don't want to give up a long sustained drive and then they got to stay out there for the PAT block and then they just walk to their spot on kick return and now we're asking them to block some missile coming down there at them. Whenever they miss, maybe it's not their fault. That falls on us. We put them in a bad spot. We try to train defensive guys on the punt. Everybody knows that giving up a big punt return or giving up a punt block is the fastest way to lose a football game. So I know there's two schools of thought. We'll have minimal subs. We'll have our offensive guys out there on punt. Well, you go ahead and get those offensive guys out there, and now the ball's been punted to a really, really good player, and you're asking them to go down there and tackle him. That's a big ask. So we try to train our defensive guys. We at least feel like, if we come out and if we get a first down, they've gotten 6-7 plays of rest. Now they can go out there and we feel better about them blocking for 2 seconds and then running down and understanding things like leveraging the football and how to tackle a guy in space and how to pursue and angles and all that, because it's things they do defensively anyway. So, keeping the game in mind, we try to make sure that we have, the guys, whenever that game gets going, that they're not just exhausted. We have a rule for our PBR and our field goal block. We don't ever go more than 4 on or 4 off. We were fortunate this year. We didn't have any sub infractions. We didn't play anything with 10. Heaven forbid, we ever play anything with 12. But if you're trying to block the field goal or you're trying to get your punt return team out there and you're having to run 6-7 guys out there, that can be chaotic. We feel like if it's 4 guys, and normally it's our 4 D linemen, and those guys follow me, I tell them, listen, if I fart, you better tell me what I had for lunch because I need you right there on me. That way, when it's time to go, it's time to go. Something we got into this year, because we had a big rotation on the defensive line, was we make sure that we sub by position and not the person, because kids will start to think, I go in for Seth. Well, if Seth's playing defensive tackle and you're running in to get the defensive tackle, that's right. But as soon as we start, moving Seth over to the jack and you run in to get Seth, things can get a little muddy. So when they run in, they're saying tackle, 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 nose, 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 jack, jack, jack. And then whoever that guy is, that position, they know it's time to run off. And our operation that we put in is for something like the PBR or field goal block, those guys that should be getting subbed, they come to the nearest hash to us, and they sit there and they look. And then, if you've got your 4 guys on that near hash and the 4 guys are there behind me, and we see that it's going to be a punt, they go ahead and tag one another out. So that's our operation, just trying to keep that game in mind. We have what we call gold box guys. That's the first guy in at multiple spots. Every coach, that might listen to this has used the expression nut cutting time. We do fill out, a first team kickoff and then a second team kickoff. But if we're totally honest, one of the guys on that second team kickoff with the game on the line, we may not want him running down there. We need to develop, 22 guys for the sake of practice and being able to run too deep in a drill and things like that. But whenever it really, really becomes time to win a football game, if the field 3 were to go down and the guy behind him isn't one of our best players, we're going to have a guy on that side of the football that we say, hey, look, I know you're the backup field 4, but you're about to go play the field 3. We call him a gold box guy. And then our depth chart is always alive. We keep that in a Google sheet, just like a lot of people do. I'll show you that really quickly. See if I can move this. So here, this is a look at our depth chart. And I know it looks like a lot, but you can see here on our kickoff team, our field 2 is a kid that we called him Little. And we just felt like if the game was on the line, we would put Little at any of these field spots. He would be the first guy in. We're not going to let Jameer Boyd, just watch football just because, the field 4 is the one that went down. We're going to let him go play. Same thing over here in the boundary. This kid, Mumu, he was going to be the one that went in at any one of those spots. That way we felt like we had our best 11. On the kick return, we do it by front line, middle, and then our back, our F guys. So, having those guys that, we develop them, we put them in multiple spots, and they just know that you got to be able to play more than one spot if somebody were to go down. We found that to be pretty valuable. And we talk about that on Sunday. If we start moving guys around, who's the gold box guy that we may have to do. Now, during the week, if we come in on Sunday and we know that our boundary 3 is already down, we're going to try to work that back up and make sure that he can go do it. We're not automatically going to move him on a Sunday. This is more of a Friday night kind of operation where we feel like we want to have our best guy out there. So we always keep that depth chart alive. Everybody has access to it. We make our changes as we need to as a staff. When we talk more about planning, we go through and we chart everything that we can. And I've went through and made different columns. It'll say opponent PBR, opponent punt, and then all these data points, all these columns come up that I can put the information in. So looking at the PBR. So whenever we're looking at the other team's punt block return, a couple of things we try to look at is pressure, and that's a count of how many guys are at the line of scrimmage. You'll see plenty of teams that are going to put a guy out on each gunner and a deep returner, and they're going to put 8 hands in the ground. I can remember being at Brooks, and Irwin County was going to do that every Friday night. They were going to have 8 guys in a sprinter stance trying to come get you. And then there's another column we use called the punt pressure, and that's whenever we chart how many of them actually rush. So I feel good about telling our guys, look, you're going to see a lot of hands in the ground, but by what they've shown on film, only 5 of them are coming. And then you start to narrow down who those 5 are, and then your kids take the field and they feel confident that they know, hey, this is one of the guys that typically likes to try to get back there and rush it. We want to know what number the returner is. We want to know return yards. So, that'll start to tell itself if he's a dynamic player. And then we have a column for the wrecker. The wrecker, perfect example of a wrecker is LaDamian Guyton over at Benedictine, another one of those really good opponents that we're fortunate enough to play. That kid, he's going to Texas Tech for a reason. We had seen early in the year on the film that we had, no matter where he was at, 6'5" or whatever it is that he was, he could get to the punt, whether they put him in A gap, whether they put him on the edge, and he changed our protection. So, if there's a guy that's just back there causing havoc, we're going to make sure that we know what number he is, where it is that he likes to line up. And if we want to, move our protection around to account for him, we want to make sure that we do it. We don't want to get off the field on a Friday night and say, well, we knew number 5 was really, really good. And then he showed us how good he was, and we wasn't prepared for that. When we talk about the other team's punt team, we want to know who the long snapper is, who the punter is. We tell our kids what grade they're in. If they're starting for the first time, our kids get excited for whenever I tell them this is a first-year long snapper. He's a sophomore, and he didn't do it last year. We hope we can get him in a bad spot, make him a little nervous. If we get a kid making his start or starting for the first year and he's a younger guy, we may throw in a shift or something like that just to disrupt him. Same thing with the punter. If he's a guy who all he does is punt, this is his first year doing it, maybe we can make him drop one. We want to know the shield or the personal protector. We want to know his depth. We want to know our block point. And then our operation time. Anything of 2.3 or above, we're going to try to go get it. And I'm down there with a microscope, and I'll pause it, and I'll start doing it in slow motion. And as soon as the stripe of that ball moves, I'll look at what the time is and then kind of slow-mo it until it gets to his foot, and I'll freeze it, and I'll see what that time is, and then I've got a column that says OT, and, we put that time in. And if it's 2.3 or above, we're going to work a lot more block that week than we are return. Now, the years that I've been here, we see a lot of really good long snappers and punters that can handle the ball, and their operation times are a lot better. And I heard some guys speak out at a clinic, I think it was the Nike clinic last spring, that don't beat your head against the wall with somebody who's got a 1.9 operation time. Like, you ain't going to get there. Just go ahead and try to set up a return. We chart out our punt distance from the ball. That's going to tell our punt returner how far away he needs to be. And then we try to find 3 guys who don't play offense. That's our sub indicator. Especially you get into a 4th and 3 in the middle of the field. You don't want to be the guy that just ran, four guys out there and got your defensive line on, and all of a sudden they're about to snap the football and play offense. So we look for those 3 guys that don't play offense, and our guy up top, keeps an eye out for them. And when they start making their way onto the field, that's when we know it's time to sub in our PBR guys. So we try to look for 3 who don't play offense. Nothing more of a headache than a quarterback who can punt. Any guys, you offensive guys that do that, don't do it. It's not good. You shouldn't incorporate that. But we want to find those guys so we feel good about when we sub. When we look at our kickoff team or the opposing kickoff team, we're going to start out by where's this kickoff land, and that's a yard marker. Where at on the field does it land just depth wise? We're going to chart out the formation. Field 6x4 is what we see a lot. 5x5. What hash are they putting it on? The kick type, squib, pooch, deep. Are they kicking it into their home sideline, or are they kicking it into their away sideline? Are they kicking it to their right? Are they kicking it to their left? If they put it on a hash, are they kicking it to the field or the boundary? And what you'll find is if you'll put all this information in, you can really start to narrow down where it is that this ball is going to go. And if you can't narrow it down, you just make sure your kids are prepared. He's going to spray the football. So everybody needs to be ready to go. And then, we've been a count-based return system, and we want to know, is there anybody we don't have to count? So a lot of teams will, they'll make their ones on either side. Their edge guys will be safeties. They won't run down, past the 40. Well, if we're counting, we don't need a guy going to hunt him. We're going to leave him to the off returner. And our guys, every Wednesday when we do our kick return against their kickoff, that's the first thing that they're going to ask is, are we counting one? Most of the time it's one who runs down, but we've seen it before be, 4. And if we switch it up going right and left and it changes the way we count, we make sure our guys know what number we're not going to count. And it'll be 1, 2, 3 is the safety. We're not counting him. We move over and there's a new number 3 because we don't want to be chasing ghosts. We don't want to send a guy up to block a safety guy. We feel like if we make it to the safety guy, our returner's got to make him miss, or our off returner's got to pick him up. My apologies. I've ran up here to the school. I guess they still got the bells going. But when we look at an opposing team's kick return, the very first thing we want to know is who's the dude. We're fortunate to play really good opponent, and most of the time the two back there are dynamic players. And if one of them has housed a few and he's a dynamic guy for their offense, we want to know, and we want to do everything we can not to kick it to him. Are they returning the ball up to their sideline, or are they pushing it away from their sideline? If you kick it from the right hash into the right boundary, are they taking a right turn and trying to get it to the field? Are they pushing it back up into the boundary? Are they right-handed? Are they left-handed? Is there a clear double? So I have a column that says double. And then I try to figure out, who it is that they're doubling. Because normally if you have a double team, they're in a count system. I know we went up and played Flowery Branch. It did not matter where number 10 and 15 were. They were coming to double. And what it is that we do with that information is if our guys is who we believe they're going to go double, we go ahead and let that guy know how to handle the double team, how we want him to attack it. And then the guys on either side of him, look, your lane might get a little bit wider. You might have more grass that you got to account for because there's a chance that this guy gets kicked out. 2-on-1, you typically, you don't win that battle. And then are any other returners defensive guys? We feel like if there's a guy who plays free safety and he's one of the returners, we're gonna try him up. If he doesn't fall in the dude category, we're gonna go ahead and kick it to him because the chances that he's always working ball security, those are low. So if we can kick it to him and get down there and get a hat on him, maybe he'll cough one up. But those are things we try to look at in order to put our kickoff team in the best position possible. And then when we look at the opposing team's field goal, I'll be totally honest with you. The offensive staff they handle all the field goal team because it's primarily offensive guys, and it's more of an offensive snap for them. And then defensively, we handle the PBR. So I don't really touch the field goal team, but I do touch the field goal block. And so when we're looking at the opposing team's field goal, we want to know who's the long snapper, who's the kicker, who's the holder, what's their operation time, is there a 4-man surface? So a lot of teams, just like everybody knows, they'll have that 4-man long edge. We want to make sure that we handle that the right way, that we kick our side, our defensive guys, over one so that we're not, just out leveraged. We want to find the mullet. So our defensive line coach says all the time, a mullet is a bad haircut and a fish you don't want to eat. Is there a kid out there, Booster Club kid, that he's out there because his daddy gives a lot of money? We're going to go attack him if he's the mullet. So we're going to find that guy and maybe we double or triple him and try to get penetration. But we want to find him. We want to know their longest make, and then we want to know their longest attempt. So if the longest attempt they've had is from the 27-yard line and they go out there from the 35 or the 40, we're probably going to play that a little safe and be ready for a fake, or we'll make the decision based off who the holder is and is the kicker an athlete of any kind. We might just go back there and get it because he's already going to be shaky. It's in his head that he's trying the longest attempt that he's tried all year, and we want to pressure that and try to give him a chance to mess that up. So we know that information. It's down on the back of my sheet as we go into Friday. That way we can attack that whenever we get the chance. When we talk about preparing, so we've planned everything. When we talk about preparing, the way that practice works at Ware County for special teams is Monday is our punt team. It's a 15-minute period. The first 5 of it are Indy time. Each coach has a piece. I coach what we call our F, which really plays like a guard, and then our personal protector, because those two guys are responsible, in tandem for certain gaps. And every coach, we've got the coach who does the gunners. We got coaches that do the tackle. They go to that particular coach. And the way that we'll do it, because I coach the linebackers, all the linebackers come with me and they immediately become scout team guys as we work what it is that we're doing with those guys on the punt team. And then we go 10 minutes of good on good. This is a chance for scout team guys to get helmet stickers. We send them at it. We give them the cards of what it is the opposing team's going to do. And we let those guys loose and we tell them to go try to block it. Just stay off the punter. But we do 10 minutes of good on Monday. That's our only team. Tuesday, we do our kickoff team on the grass. In the morning, after our lift, we go into the gym. We do a little walkthrough. That's where we install the PBR with our defensive guys. That way, when we get on the grass, we do that on our defensive side of the practice schedule. They know where it is to go, and then we're just working the fundamentals of that. But whole team-wise, Tuesday is kickoff team, and we do little things like at Memorial Stadium. whenever it's time to go kick off, Welcome to the Jungle is going to be playing. So I run over there before the kickoff team gets started. And I put it on repeat. Welcome to the Jungle. That way they feel like they're at Memorial Stadium. We go ahead and try to get that juice flowing. We do 5 minutes of our void drill. This was something I hadn't done before I got here. It's a Coach Strickland drill, and I love it. We do it for 5 minutes every day. I'm going to show that to you in a little bit. And then we go 10 minutes of full lane sprints with cones down so that kids are hitting their landmark. What we have found is if you take your 20 guys that are going to be running down there, you probably don't have 11 or 15 that are left that can give you a good look that are actually going to try to block them. So we just scrap that. We focus more on our lane integrity and making sure we got the call of where the kick's going. We've got great timing. That way we're not offsides and, just having great lane integrity. So we do 10 minutes of full lane sprints. We start that out with what we call time for 10, where they're just getting that 10-yard sprint, trying to time everything up. And then we stretch it on out and we go all the way down. Like I said, no benefit to us in a scout team kick return. We've not found that we got enough guys that'll go out there and give us a great look, so we're not going to waste the time with it. Wednesday, we go back to punt. It's the only team that we practice twice in a week, and the way that we kick off Wednesdays with our special team is we don't get the Indy time. We punt the ball from plus territory, so we might punt the ball from the plus 44. We're going to try to pin them, and we get one kick against a live look team, and we're going to punt it down there, and we got to keep that ball out of the end zone. And then we flip it around, and we do our backed up punt. So we punt every ball from the 8 and back on Wednesday. That way our kids are used to standing, understanding that the goal line's right behind them. Our punter is understanding what it feels like to have his heels in the back of the end zone, and punting that ball backed up. We go ahead and work that. It's been really, really advantageous to us. And then we go through some more offensive and defensive periods, and then we get into kick return. Our kick return is a lot like our punt team, where we get 5 minutes of our Indy time. And again, that's split up. I coach our front line guys, and all we're working on landmarks. Get back to your landmark with speed, turn out. Lock wash. We talk fundamentals. We talk football. If we see, a team that's going to pooch it or squib it, we'll spend that whole Indy time on just handling pooches and squibs, because we have pooch alerts and things we got to do. And we can't expect guys to just go out there and do that on the fly. So we work that in our Indy time. And then we do get 10 minutes of 11 on 11, because we can find 10 guys that'll run down there and try to make a play. It's a little easier to find 10 guys that'll run down on kickoff than it is 10 guys that'll block, your starting kickoff team. And then Thursday, we do our walkthrough in the morning during first block weights. That's where we rep our onside, our hands, our specials. What I mean by special is, if we were to get a safety or give up a safety, we don't want to look like a bad fire drill out there, because we don't know where to line up to kick off after a safety, or we don't know where to line up after returning a safety. Our offensive guys work the fire alarm field goal. Everybody saw a couple years ago where Baylor, hit that. I think it wasn't Baylor, it was TCU. TCU was able to hit that to beat Baylor and keep their playoff hopes alive. So our offensive guys, they worked that on Thursday. New Hampstead did a really weird thing 2 years ago where they would line up really, really wide. And so we've kind of stolen that. We make sure our guys know how to align if the kickoff team goes out there and does something funky. Thursdays are our day that we work those special situations, and we get a lot of reps for our hands and our onside teams before we close the week of practice out. But that's what we look at just as far as preparing for our special teams. We use Google Drive all the time. So I feel like probably most teams are using Google Drive in some way, shape, or form. And I go in, I make a subfolder under Football 25, Ware County Special Teams. In that folder, each opponent has its own, folder. And what I'll do is I'll draw the scout cards in Huddle, save them as a PDF, and then I'll upload them so that everybody can see the scout look. So on Monday, I normally try to do it by 1 o'clock. I'll have all the looks that the opposing team is going to give us when they're trying to block our punt. I'll draw them up, save them as that PDF, and then I'll just upload them under the Benedictine Monday is what it'll say. Every coach knows that's where we're going to go. These are the looks that we're going to give, and I'll number them out. And whenever we're punting, I'll say look 1, and we've got a great group of coaches that get over there and they line up whatever the card says for look 1, Every coach that's coaching a position on the punt team, they see this is the look that we're about to get. And then each week, that depth chart that I showed you, we move that into the current week so everybody knows where to go to get that. So every coach has the drive. They print the looks. I print extra ones, but using that as kind of a hub to get everything that we need so that everybody's on the same page when we go out there and our reps that we're taking on the grass, we're not walking and talking a lot. We're actually getting after it. Our preparation, it starts on day one of summer for us. So again, this goes back to Coach Strickland loving special teams and letting, me do kind of some of the things that I think that we need to do, and not just do them, but he embraces them. He loves them. So we'll do, and I'll show it to you. We do a special team circuit for the first 15 minutes every day of the summertime. We're here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and this is periods 1, 2, and 3. We get the music loud. It's, we're not doing a dynamic warm up. We're not doing duck walks. We're getting into our special teams groups and we're getting after it. The way that I separate it out is they start out by position group. They're given a coach to start with, and then they'll rotate accordingly. And you'll see that on the graphic here in a minute. But day one, kids are going to start, if the corners are going to Coach Steverson, that's your day one group. And then we'll come up in day two. When we get to Tuesday, we'll say, if you were with Coach Steverson, you're now going to Coach Evans. And the kids know, and once you get them into their 3 rotation rack, all they got to do is move left. So we feel like that's a way to get every coach involved, and it allows every coach to coach every kid. And then we have it down. We have 3 drills in each group that we do each week. I send it out in our group me every morning, coaches, where you're going to have group 1 today, and you're going to be doing drill number 2. Again, every kid sees every coach every day. That's a big deal. Our D-line coach working with our safeties, is a really big deal. And then it becomes extra fundamentals for your quarterbacks and O-linemen. They're probably not going to be on a lot of special teams. We make our defensive line go through every special team drill for extra conditioning. And then there's some days where the D-linemen get to catch a punt whenever the other guys are working on something. They love that because every D-lineman, thinks they're a tight end. So we do that. This is what that looks like. So you'll see on the top, this is group 1. So, we'll have a PBR station, our corners coach, Coach Durden. He's going to work the one-hand block technique on when we go drill 2 or drill 1, he's working the one-hand block, that drive-by technique. We're working drill 2 is 2-hand block where they're bending and, blocking the stripe, and a knife tech is just, if you're an A-gap player, knifing by, not getting down block, getting to that shield. And you can see as it goes down each one. So, for example, like I was saying, I said corners, y'all are going to start with Coach Steverson on Monday. Our safeties start with Coach Watson on Monday, and then our linebackers start with Coach Durden, and then they rotate every 5 minutes. And then you're moving down. Tight ends and running backs coming to me. Wide receivers are going to Coach Sapp. I can't see. I've got the thing down there. Somebody's going to Coach Teetsorth. And so if you're with this top group of 3 on day 1, on day 2, you just go to, the coach that we tell you to. And we do that every single day in the summer, working the specific fundamentals of a special team. That way guys know, how to block a punt. They know how to vice the ball on kickoff. They know how to use a stick and stack technique on the kickoff team. They know how to try to keep a punt out, whenever they're on the punt team. We work those fundamentals every day. And if you do it in June and July, you'll start to see that you can get more guys in because you feel like they worked it in the summer. And it also, when we talk about specializing and being good at your job, there's some guys that if you do this, they're going to kind of rise to the top, and you're going to say, man, Dallas Vinson may not be a starter on the defensive side of the ball, but we got to get him down there, on PBR, because he is really, really good, in these touchdown block situations. So that's where we start to see those guys come up and specialize in their job. And this is just a great way for us to get practice started, get guys coaching. We love it. We started doing it 2 years ago, and I don't believe it's going anywhere. Our kids are used to it now. And then we'll use this same whenever we get an open week. So we may tweak it a little bit, but when we get an open week and we're just working on us, we'll revert back. And instead of doing special teams as 11-on-11 group, we'll just do our circuit. We worked that both open weeks that we had this year. Looking at Our void drill that I mentioned earlier, we do this for the first 5 minutes every Tuesday for kickoff. And I know it's a lot of lines, but essentially what we have, your circles are guys. Those are kickoff guys. And then those triangles there are guys holding dummies. And all we do is we separate them by 10 yards. I call out the kick. Green is to the right, gold's to the left. And that tells them which way to void. We're not a butt side void. We are a kick side void team. And as that guy holding the bag, he's told by another coach in the back of the line which way to go. As they move that way, they got to react accordingly. So if the guy's coming at you, you want to beat him with speed. If he's going to make it to you, we want to make sure that you void the right way. And then we wind up with a 3-man vice down there with some returners, and then we work having a point man, an outside guy, and on each side. And we go ahead and we try to leave no room for kids to have to think. We go ahead and tell them what line it is that you're going to be in. We go ahead and tell who the guys holding the bags are. And we put that up on our bulletin board. It's the first thing that guys see whenever they come into the locker room. I'm a bag guy, and this is the line that I'm in. And so we can get out there and we can get that welcome to the jungle going, and we can crank it out, and we can get a bunch of reps. We'll do that for 5 minutes before we do our lane rundown stuff. Right here, this is a stick stack, and I got a lot of drills on it, and we won't sit there forever looking at it. But all we're doing is guys working in space. You've got a guy who's square, and you know that you need to get to the right. So here our guys are working stick and left, getting back to the right. We teach that just like if you're running a route, you're trying to slant, you're going to try to turn the guy out so that you can run back in. We call that a stick stack. We work that all the time. This is one of our stations whenever we talk about the summertime, and this is it. And we try to keep the drill simple so we get a lot of reps. We don't, want to overcomplicate the drill to the point that it takes us more time to talk about it than it does to actually run it. We want to feel like in a 5-minute period, everybody can get 3 reps at it. So everybody goes through it. Even if you're a guy who ain't going to run down on the kickoff team, you might run down on there next year, or you might just wind up getting better and better. And you find a way out there, and then looking at it, the way that it translates into a game. So right here up top at our field 2, you're going to see our guy work a stick stack technique right here. Like I said, our field 2, if you watch him run on down, he's got this guy pretty square, stick right, get back left, get down there, start to make a play. Ball's coming your way. He's got a good leverage, got a good vice. We like that. We want to see that the drill that we do, just like anybody, you want to see the drill show up in a game. If the drill doesn't show up in a game, you're probably wasting your time. So we want to make sure that what it is we did on the practice field makes its way out to Memorial Stadium on a Friday night. Same thing, one of our stations in the kickoff team is our vice, understanding where it is that you fit. That way the ball doesn't get outside of you, or you don't jump into somebody's responsibility and somebody's fit. So as we're coming down right here, these guys, oh man, I missed it. I'm sorry. Let me see. As this ball comes, our guy out here, our field 1 knows where it is that he's got to be, staying outside, not letting the ball outside of the hash, and we're able to get numbers on it. Same thing here, and you'll see a little more of the drill here in a minute. But working that 3-man vice, knowing where it is that you fit. As these 3 guys run down, he's going to know ball's working away from me. I'm going to be the cutback side. I'm the middle guy. I can take a shot. This comes from our void drill. This guy's got to know that I can't jump down here inside this hash and give up my edge. You'll see him kind of stay outside, know where it is that he fits, tackle it from the outside. We're good to go. Same thing here. So, and I like this, this guy doesn't wind up making the play. This guy right here, he's like a 3rd string D lineman. He plays the jack, power cleans a couple of houses, can run like a deer, but he ain't quite where he needs to be in order to play the things that we need him to play on defense. But he can run down and do this. You'll see him work a stick right, get back left onto his landmark. He's free to go, winds up getting right there around the football. Maybe that ball pops out and he's got a chance to score and get his name in the paper. This right here is our strike bend drill. This is another, just a rotation, another station that we do, working on friction in whenever you get it, especially in the speed zone. So we don't want to get bumped off. We want to go ahead and get that guy off of us and then start to bend with that returner. You can see there, Coach Sapp, we don't, if we're in that speed zone, we're not trying to get two palms and the thumbs up on that guy. Just don't let him get you. Cut the friction down, do what you got to do to get him off, get back into your lane and be ready to bend on the football. Again, doing it as much as you can. And you'll see that right here. Where is he? All right, so you're going to see this guy right here work his strike and bend. He's just a hitter. He's got no responsibility. He's just free to run down the football field. Right here, get that guy off of you, keep running. Now he bends, makes the tackle. Those are the kind of things that we want to see show up in a game on a Friday. Sorry. You'll see him coming around right here, getting down, no landmark, no lane, none of that. You just go get the ball, friction that thing, be ready to come in and bend. That helps us. This right here, Coach Steverson, I want to say, let's get to a better one. Now, this is more working our strike zone. You can even see him there talking about getting extension. Now these guys are on you, getting off of it. We talk about, hitting low and pushing up high. That guy's got to either be able to breathe or he's got to block you, but he can't do both. So we want to look and get a great explosion, get a great hit on that guy with eyes on the football so that we can bend. And you'll see that. I think this one's really good from the end zone. You'll see a guy, and the guy who makes this play, he might have played 5 defensive snaps. Like he was buried on the chart as a safety, but he really embodied that I can run down here and I can be an assassin on this kickoff team. So you'll see him work his strike zone stuff as he's coming down. Boom, hit up, accelerate up, bend with the ball, make the tackle. That feels to us exactly like what Coach Sapp was doing throughout the summer and developing that skill. Here we're working a double team. This is another one of our stations. The way that we coach up the double team is we tell our frontline guy, you just go block him. You don't worry about a double team. You go get a hat on him. The guy with depth that's coming from behind you in order to help seal that double team, you make sure that it's right. Okay. And we've done it kind of both ways, trying to come hip to hip. Well, now guys they're trying to find their own teammate. And sometimes you can miss the guy running down there full speed. So we want that frontline guy, you just go block him. You act like it's a one-on-one. The guy coming from depth, you see which way it's going, then you go latch on and you go get him up out of there. Let's see. All right, another one. This is what we call our square drill. I think everybody does it. This is a summertime thing for us too, getting guys into the square. And now this becomes a 2-man drill because truth be told, if you're running down on kickoff and you get way outside of this right here, you're out of your lane anyway. So we got to get down here. We got to beat that thing, with some speed, and we've got to try to get to this ball. Now, this is something we did a little more during our open week. You can tell, we're in pads. We weren't doing this in the summertime. This was an open week type drill, but getting down there, anchoring down, getting your base, being able to go whichever way it is that you're going to get, a chance to take that guy. And then we work what we call a lock wash or a turnout that I'll talk to you about here in just a second. But, talking about just a kid like this, he's big, he's long, but I don't know if he can count to 6 if you gave him a head start, but he could protect his square. So he became a staple for us on the front line of that kickoff team. We work that as much as we can. That ain't no good right there. So here, this is more summertime. Whenever we're just introducing it, we call it a lock wash or a turnout. So if we're dropping right here in a right return and that guy stays on our face, we want to lock onto him and we want to wash him out, take him where he's going, give the returner your back. We call that a lock wash. And so because we can run to our landmark, but that guy may be trying to get around us because he can see the ball, we can't. And so we want our guys to know if he's trying to press your face, you know exactly what to do. And then the other one is what we call a turnout. He gets here and he's trying to cut off of your tail. You got to be able to turn out and get him out so that returner can cut right off of you. And we yell that all the time. We're going lock wash right here. We're going turnout. We give our guys running down on scout team a clear definition of where to go. That way they know all I got to do is try to beat our guy to this spot, and he knows I got to try to get him off of that spot. Working this right here, I think we get a really good example of, I believe it's a turnout. I'm not sure. All right, so right here, you'll see number 6. We'll run it with him first. He's going to work a really, really good turnout. He's dropping to his spot, sees the guy he's responsible for, tries to cross his face. We're going to turn him out. We're going to wash him where he needs to go. He winds up behind the play, and we get us a really, really big return. Same thing, if we bring it back up here, you'll see our man playing on the hash, probably our play side guard. He's going to work his square drill. I'd like to see him get back with a little bit more speed, but he bases down, sees his guy, die slowly, get him turned around, give that returner your back, and then we're off to the races. Same thing right here, talking about working, I believe this should be double teams. We talk about how it is that works. All right, no, we'll get a turnout. So our guy's coming back. He knows where his guy is. He's trying to cross out here. I'm going to get him and take him this way. Stay locked on, get a KO. He was going to get a log for that, create a really, really big return for us. Gave us a chance to win that football game. So, and it's cliche, it's coach talk about drills and whatnot, but if the drill isn't simple enough to prepare guys for what it is they're going to see in a game, then you don't see it actually starting to show up. Probably not that great of a drill. We got to be honest with ourselves. Just because we think it's great, if it's not producing results and we can't turn on the film on Saturday morning and see it show up, it's probably not that great of a drill. This is our bad ball drill. This is another, again, doing it during the open week. I think I told you before we got on here, when we started having to go through and thin out some storage stuff. We don't have all our practice film from the summertime, but this is great for, you're going to see teams that pooch it and squib it, and we want to feel like everybody on our team has the ability to jump on and just catch a ball, And what we found too is, we'll find some D linemen that are athletic and twitchy, and they're pretty good at recovering, the ball getting kicked at them. Because if you're anything like us, if you run a guy out there wearing number 91 on the front line, we might just try to kick it to him. We want to feel like our number 91 has had plenty of opportunities to catch bad balls. So don't underestimate the power of taking and giving, small groups 5 minutes to work on this kind of stuff, because it might save a possession for you. I was really excited this year. We played some teams that wanted to put the ball on the ground. New Hampstead, Warner Robins was a big pooch team. We didn't give up any possessions on the kick return by people, trying to do something other than kicking it deep. Here, this is just very, very simple, working a two-hand bend, coming at it off of our right-hand side, knowing where to place our hands, knowing where to put that ball down, knowing how to bend and block. Here, just talking about working a knife technique. All that is how fast can I get through there? How fast can I get through there and then finish up on the ball? Same thing. You can see what I really like about this, and I know Coach Durden was coaching the snot out of it. If you look at 83's head right here, and he may never go out there on the punt block. He, as the season gets going, he may not be the guy, but we're going to know that based off what it is that we saw in the summer. I love his eyes right here inside on the football. We're not reading body language or any of that. He's seeing the ball. So if we get a team that's going to give us wide splits and we got to get a guy in there, just to eat the shield, we want to feel good about being able to get through there. Same thing, just continuing to work those little tiny fundamentals that go into, and notice they're moving the landmark around, getting close to the ball, getting away from the ball, knowing how to operate. Right here, just working a drive-by. If we feel like we don't have time to block it off of the edge and we want to try to get a shot up there and get you close. Again, see my man here is falling off the ball. No good. I'd rather do that in June and July than I would in October and November. Let's see. Getting through right here. Another just bad ball. We get a couple of coaches. It was me, Coach Smith, Coach Melvin, and I'm actually just kicking it to them. We do this, again, every day in the summer so that our guys feel good about how it is to, return a kick that's coming at them. Right here, I was going to show this really quick. We played Ware County, and all they did, they shown that they had pooched the football. And if you show that you're going to pooch the football a lot, that's what we're going to practice the most. Our guys will get excited if you want to kick it deep, but we're going to lose a lot of sleep if a guy can get out there and actually pooch it and give you a problem. So you can see this is during our Indy time. We've got guys back here working their own thing. I'm working with the front line, seeing the kicker steps. Know they're getting shortened. Know he's pointing where it is that he's going. They're getting over to a landmark, and then back there in the back, they're working on making sure that we get it caught, making sure we get it fielded, getting great reaction. That way we can handle a pooch. And then the way that this was all during the week of Wayne, then we show up to the game. Lo and behold, play number 1. What is it that they're going to do? They're going to go ahead and pooch this ball. And we get, a really, really great reaction. And they go ahead and pooch it right where it is that we had practiced. We get a good full turn over here, getting on our responsibilities, getting our folks. We get the ball caught. Now we're off to the races. We were able to house the opening kick. Film got cut short, but that was a big momentum piece for us to practice that all week and then see it show up on Friday, and we handle that, the right way. Seeing it from the end zone copy really quick. Right here, we get the pooch. We get a full line move over. We get hats on hats. We hit it right in the seam that we want to hit it, break one arm tackle, and then go run and win that race. So there's the other half. That's what it would have looked like. That was fun. Here, we're working a touchdown block. Okay, we work this all the time. We tell our guys, so the way that this drill is set up, the way our D-line coach has it set up is they've already lost leverage. Okay, they're not locked on in phase in a PBR type period. They've lost their guys, so we coach them to run straight at the returner. This is a 2-man operation. The returner's got to know my guy's coming right at me, and I've got to put him in a spot where he can set that pick. So we've practiced it on the block side, running by it, making sure we don't get hands, which that's not the best rep in the world, but making sure that we don't get hands on guys and we know how to touchdown block this thing. And then to see it show up in a game, really, really big deal. You'll see a kid, his name's Tayshawn Wilson. I bet he took 10 snaps on the defensive line all year, but he was a heart and soul guy whenever it came to our PBR team. This kid makes a phenomenal play, but if you'll watch it right here, this guy, again, he's a sophomore. He's undersized. He's not going to help us a whole lot on the line of scrimmage on defense. But if you'll watch him right here, he's working that touchdown block technique. He's running right at his returner. That returner knows I'm going to use him to set this screen. He gets across him, seals that thing off, and we're off to the races. So, finding those drills that you believe will translate over into the game, and then finding the time to work them. And the summertime's the perfect time to do it, because you'll, again, start to identify those guys that can help you on your special teams, because he was good at it in the summer. So, we felt like he was the guy to do it. And again, he's probably not going to be injured. As long as he doesn't get hurt at practice, he's probably not going to get injured during the game. We feel good he's going to be out there, on every snap possible. Here he is right here. And this is just a phenomenal play for him to get out of this traffic. But right here he comes back right there, working that, running to his returner. Now we can go make a play. Again, we're going to get another view of this. Sorry for that audio. Right here, these guys working these, touchdown blocks. I've lost my leverage. I'm going to keep running at that returner, give him a lane, get him free, let Davion Jones go make a play. Let's see another one that we try to work a pretty good bit of. It's our drive-by stuff. This is just this is in phase. We coach kids on where to put their hands, how to stay square, working on the punt team. And again, summertime, this is, introductory, making sure that we ain't jumping in with it. Because again, using defensive guys on the punt team, what do they want to do? They want to put their face on people. You get to lunging at guys, you're going to give free runners. So we talk about, what a loaded strike is and what it is to be in phase and how to work that. This right here is our keep out drill. Everybody wants to run down there and down the punt and get all the ooh-wee and stuff like that. But when are you working it? And again, for us, we work it a lot in the summertime so that our guys know how to down a punt. Because you go out and do what this kid did on a Friday night and we get mad at him and we're mad that we didn't get it. Well, how much did we work it? Did that guy get a chance to do it 20 times? And if he didn't get a chance to do it 20 times, whose fault is that? So we work our halo, masking that returner, having a guy in front, having a guy behind, and both of them understanding we can't let this ball cross the end zone. We can't let this ball get down there. But right there, that's a bad rep. And if a guy does that again on a Friday night, we're mad at him. But as coaches, did we give him a chance to develop that and actually know how to do it in a low leverage situation? Here, working another version of our square drill and our vice, just a guy getting down there, trying to keep this guy out. And then as you shake and move, make sure you finish on the outside piece where it is that you're supposed to. And again, that's just being done in the summertime. It goes along with the same drill I'm doing. You can see up in the top right, Coach Steverson working his strike zone type stuff. So just like before, this is group 1, group 2, group 3. They get this half of the field, and then our other groups are down here where you can't see on the camera, working with another group of 3 coaches in that circuit that we run every single week. Working our knife tech right here, adding that little down block. Guys know I got to beat this guy, I got to rip by, and I got to get through. Coach Steverson making sure that drone's up. Again, working these strike zone type techniques where we're running down, we can see the stripe of the ball. We can't win with speed whenever we see the stripe of the ball because you're just going to run by it. Talking about hand placement, talking about how to push, low to high and make sure that guy can't breathe or block you, or breathe and block you. He's got a choice. He can do one or the other. And if he chooses to breathe, you're going to get a chance to make a play. So, we're working that stuff all summer long, and then it makes it easier to work during those bye weeks. Right here, strike, get off of it, and go. Boom, hit it, get by it. No, right here we're in a gold return, so I got to make sure that I get to the left. See both guys do it and run by it, and doing it in small, incremental little situations where they can work the technique and not just look at it as an 11-on-11 type thing. Right here, seeing our middle of the field runner working his strike zone stuff. As he comes down, hit, get extension, get back to your landmark, keep on running, stay with it, wind up on the football. Those are things that we got to be able to do, and we want to give our kids a chance, throughout the season to work those fundamentals. See, all right. So right here, we talk about our bad ball drill. Okay, and I know I jumped around a little bit, but you saw some of the film on the bad ball stuff. This was big late in the game to be able to get this ball because Warner Robins did a great job of moving that kickoff around. But this right here is a tight end. He's not a receiver, but we feel like he's been in that situation before. He's ran up and feels confident enough to get up in there and try to field a bad ball and give the ball back to his offense so that we can go make a play. And we feel like that comes from the summertime and those reps and getting those reps and building that confidence so that a kid can go through and do that. Another team, New Hampstead, they didn't want to kick it deep. They wanted to keep the ball, all over the place. And we told our guys, goal number 1 going into this is just possess every kick. Don't give their powerful offense a chance in plus territory off of a kickoff team type rep. So here, guy can get on the football. That's the exact same thing we were doing 20 clips ago with Coach Sapp, just rolling bad balls at him. The guy feels confident on how to field it, how to cover it up, translates over into a football game for us. So, I know I feel like I said a lot, but the big thing that I would leave anybody with is find time to develop the skills that it takes to be on a special team. Break down what it is those skills are and start doing it, in the summertime. We don't do it in the spring because we typically have a lot of track guys going. We've got baseball. We've got a pretty good baseball program, so there's a great chance that, we don't have all those guys. But day 1 of the summer, June 1st, we're getting after it doing, our special team stuff for 15 minutes a day and feel like that adds up for us and helps us put our best foot forward on Friday night.
Yeah, Coach, that was really good. Special teams is one of the things that, one day I need to write a book about the 10 things that, I see the best programs doing, but everybody says they're doing, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like when I talk to coaches who've won 300, 400, 500 games, they always want to talk about the young kids, the JV team, something about practice, something about special teams. You know, like everybody says they're doing those things, but I do think they're easy to neglect accidentally, and
Sure.
the best people don't. And so, if somebody watched all that and couldn't pick up one thing, then they wouldn't pay much attention. And sometimes just about picking up one thing. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you
Just
very much, man. That was fantastic.
absolutely. I appreciate you giving me a minute to do it.
Yeah, man. We'll see you soon.
All right. Have a good one.